Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about what is Git conflict and why we will get the Git conflict and how to resolve the Git conflicts that we have discussed. All right. So when we are working in the team, multiple developers will be available. All those developers will be making the code changes. Sometimes if two developers are working on same file, then there is a chance of getting Git conflict. So here you are doing some changes in the project. In your local, some changes are available and somebody has pushed the latest code into the remote repository. So without taking the latest code changes from the remote, Git will not allow you to push your changes. So when you pull the changes from the Git repository, when you have some local changes, then there is a chance of getting the conflict. Whenever conflict occurs, it is our responsibility to resolve the Git conflicts and push our code. All right. And we have seen how to resolve that conflict, and we have seen how to perform Git operations from IDE also. Then after, we discussed about Bitbucket. So Bitbucket is another software developed by Atlassian company. Bitbucket is another software developed by Atlassian company. Some projects are in the market today. Some projects are using GitHub to maintain the project repositories. Some projects are using Bitbucket to maintain the code repositories. Here, if you know how to work with the GitHub, then happily you can work with the Bitbucket also. To perform operations in the Bitbucket repository, we are using git bash commands only. So in the real time, how the working process will be there. In the real time, development team will send the request to DevOps team to create the Git repository. For example, you are starting one project. For your project, a repository is required so that all the developers can integrate their code at one place. Development team will send the request to the DevOps team to create the Git repository. So based on the request sent by the development team, DevOps team will create the Git repository and will share that repository URL to development team. Then developers will connect to the repository, will push their code into remote repository. All the developers will connect with Git repo. All the developers will connect with Git repo and will push their code into remote repo for code integration. All the developers' code should be available at one place. So that's why the Git repository will be used for our project. All the developers will connect with the Git repository and they will push that code into Git repository. Once all the developers' code is pushed into the Git repository, some developers will create the branches also as per their convenience. Now, I'm working on one complex task. My task will take 1 week of time. So here, when I'm doing this task for 1 week, I don't want to disturb the code done by the other developers. So that's why I will create a separate branch for my code and I will integrate my code in that branch. Once my code changes are completed, then I can merge my code from one branch to another branch by using pull request. Developers can create the branches and can merge branches. Okay. So we have seen what is a branch, how to create a branch, and how to do the branch merging also. So now, once you joined in the company as a fresher or experienced person, you need to understand this process. Development team will send the request to the DevOps team to create the Git repository. DevOps team will create the Git repo and will share the URL to the development team. All the developers will connect with the Git repository and will push their code into remote repository for code integration. Developers can create Git branches and can merge branches using pull requests. Are you clear? Good. So with this, we understood how to work with Git repositories as well as Bitbucket repositories as a developer. So as part of this GitHub and Bitbucket, what we have learned. So in this, what we discussed, GitHub summary. GitHub summary. What we have done, what we have learned as part of these classes. As part of these classes, we discussed what is version control software. Version control softwares are used to maintain source code at one place, and they are used to monitor code changes. In the team, multiple developers will be available. Yesterday, I have done some coding in my project, but today my code is not available in the project. Who has modified my code? When they modified my code? Why they modified my code? I should be able to track it. So the first problem, developers will be working from different locations. All the developers' code should be integrated at one place. And as multiple developers working on the same project, there is a chance of modifying other developers' code also. So that's why tracking is required for the code changes. So that's where version control software we are going to use. What version control software is available in the market? Version control softwares available in market. In the market, there are several version control softwares are available like SVN, GitHub, and Bitbucket. SVN is outdated software. So from last 2 to 3 years, I'm not teaching SVN tool guys because in the companies also, they are not using SVN. So very rare people will use SVN as a version control software. Nowadays in the market, people are using GitHub and Bitbucket as version control softwares. Okay. Then after we have seen Git account setup, GitHub introduction. Here, GitHub is one cloud platform where we can store our project repositories. So GitHub is providing free accounts as well as licensed accounts also. We have created free account in the GitHub. GitHub is providing free account as well as licensed accounts. We have created free account in the GitHub. GitHub introduction that we have seen. Then after GitHub and Git setup. GitHub is a website where we can create the account to store our repositories. So the repository that we are creating in the GitHub is called as a remote repository. In order to communicate with the GitHub repositories, we have installed Git client software. Git client software we have installed in our system. By using this Git client software, we can communicate with the GitHub repositories. All right. Then after that, we discussed about what is source code repository. What is source code repository? Source code repository is a place which is used to store all our project source code at one place. What is source code repository? Source code repository is a place where we can store all the project source code at one place. Now, for every project one, repository is required. For every project one, source code repository is required. All the developers will connect with that source code repository to store their code. Types of repositories. So in the real time, people will use private repositories in the company. Private repositories will be available. Public repositories will be available. Public repository means anybody can access. Private repository means only we can access. Types of repositories are available. Then after we discussed about GitHub. Then we discussed about GitHub branches. Okay. What is the purpose of GitHub branches? So branches are used to perform parallel development activities in the project. Multiple teams will be working in the project. Those teams should perform operations parallelly without affecting other teams' code. So that's where we are going to create branches in the GitHub. GitHub branches are used to maintain multiple code bases. Okay. So a team can work on separate branch merging with the pull request. So when you want to merge the changes from one branch to another branch, then we are going to use pull request concept. Then we discussed about Git conflicts. When we are doing the code match, right? Then there is a chance of getting the Git conflict. Whenever the conflict occurs, it is our responsibility to resolve our Git conflicts. Then we discussed about real-time working process with the GitHub. The real time, as a development team member, one of our team member will send the request to the DevOps team to create the repository for our project. We will not have the access to create the repository in the GitHub. That activity will be performed by DevOps team members. We will send a request to the DevOps team to create the repository for the project. Once they create the repository, they will share the repository URL with the development team. Then all the developers will connect with that repository to perform operations in the project repository, storing the code, taking the code. All these things we are going to perform with the repository. Could you please read these 10 points? Guys, are you confident on all these topics? Guys, are you confident on all these topics? Yes. Okay. The next one, we learned several git bash commands. We discussed about several git bash commands. What are the git bash commands we have learned? We discussed about git init command. Git init command is used to initialize our git local repository, our working tree. To initialize one empty repository in our local system, we are going to use git init. Before that, we have done git config. Git config. What is the purpose of git config command? What is the purpose of git config command? Git config command is used to configure our username and email ID. Git config command is used to configure our username and email ID. That if you want to perform push operations by using git bash, you need to configure your name and email ID. That's where we have used git config. Okay. Then after, we have used git init command, which is used to initialize empty repository. Then we have seen git status command. It is used to check the status of our working tree. It is used to check the status of our working tree. How many files are added to staging area? How many files are not added to staging area? Then git add command. Git add command is used to add the files to staging area. Okay. Git config command to configure our name and email. Git init command to initialize empty repository. Git status command to check the status of our working tree. Git add command to add the files to remote repository. Sorry, to add the files to staging area. Then git restore command if you want to restore the changes of the file. Okay. Or if you want to undo the changes, and we can go for git restore -staged. Git restore, if you execute with the file, it is going to discard the changes in the file. Git restore -staged, it is used to unstage the file from the staging area. Then git commit command -m message. If you want to commit the files from staging area to local repository, then we will go for git commit command. Then git push command, it is used to push the files from local repository to remote repository. Git log command, it is used to display the commit history, who, when, why, what. Git log command will be available. Then git rm command will be available, which is used to delete the file from the remote repository. Then we have seen git branch command, which is used to display currently we are pointing to which branch. Git remote add command is available. It is used to configure remote repository details to our working tree. When we are doing push operation, our push should go to which remote repository. In the GitHub, multiple remote repositories are available. Our push operation should go to which remote repository that we are configuring by using git remote add. All right. Then we have seen git stash command. What is the purpose of git stash command? Git stash command is used to save our working tree changes to stash area. And we have seen git stash apply command. Git stash command is available. Git stash apply command is available. What is git stash? Git stash is used to save our working tree changes to stash area. Stash apply, it is used to apply the stashed changes back to our working tree. Then we have seen git reset command. What is the purpose of git reset command? Git reset command is used. Git reset command is used to undo the local commits from the git. I have done a commit to the git. When you do the commit, it will go to local repo. I want to remove the local commits. Then you can go for git reset command. If you want to remove the remote repository commits, then you can go for git revert option. Git reset will remove commits from the git local repository. If you want to remove the changes from the remote, I have done one wrong push. I want to delete my changes from the remote. Then we can go for git revert. Git revert is used to remove the changes from the remote repository. Okay, guys. Then after we discussed about git clone command. What is the purpose of git clone command? Git clone command is used to clone the remote repository. Here, if you want to clone particular branch, then you can go for git clone -b. If you just want to clone the default branch, then you can go for git clone command. Default branch will be cloned, which is main. I want to clone specific branch from the GitHub repository, then we can go for git clone -b option. After cloning the repository, if you want to switch from one branch to another branch, then you can go for git checkout command. Okay. So after cloning the repository, if you want to switch from one branch to another branch, then you can go for git checkout command. All right. Git checkout command is available to switch from one branch to another branch. Then the most important command, that is git pull command. What is the purpose of git pull command? Git pull command is used to pull the latest changes from remote repository to our local. Git pull command is used to pull the changes from remote repository to our local repository. Are you clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? Git pull, which is used to pull the changes from the remote repository to local repository. Git checkout, it is used to switch from one branch to another branch. Git clone command, it is used to clone the remote repository to local. Cloning you can do with the default branch, or cloning you can do with the specific branch. Revert to remove the git committed changes from the remote. Git reset to undo the local commit. Stash apply to bring the stashed changes back to working tree. Stash to create the stash. Remote add to configure remote repository URL. Git branch to configure, to specify which branch we are currently pointing. RM to remove the files. Git log command, it is used to display our commit history. Git push command, it will push the changes from the local repository to remote. Git commit to commit the files from staging area to local. Restore to unstage that file. Restore to undo the changes. add the files to staging area. Status, display, working tree. Status, how many files are added to staging, how many files are not added to staging. Git init to initialize our working tree. Git config to configure our name and email. Git config global username, user email. Git config list command is available, which is used to display what information we have configured in the git bash. Are you clear with all the commands that we have discussed in the class? Are you clear with the commands that we have discussed in the class? Clone command and pull command. Clone is used to download the complete repository to our local. Pull command is only to take the latest code changes. Someone is asking the difference between clone and pull. That means you have not practiced. Clone command is used to clone the entire repository from the remote to local. Pull means to take only latest changes. Are you clear with my point? So three more commands are there that we need to discuss today. One is git fetch command, git merge command, git rebase command. In the interview, they will ask the questions related to these three commands also. We need to discuss these commands. Git fetch command, git merge command, git rebase command. Okay. All right. Before going to discuss about fetch, merge, rebase, are you guys clear with these commands? And are you clear with the summary that we have discussed? What is version control? What version control software is available in the market? GitHub introduction, GitHub and Git setup, source code repository, types of repositories, Git branches, branch merging, Git conflicts, working process with the GitHub. Clear? Now, first let's talk about what is git fetch command. Guys, when we are working with repositories, so you know the architecture, right? Working tree will be available, local repository will be available, and remote repository will be available. Working tree will be available, local repository will be available, and remote repository will be available. So this is our local repo and this is our remote repo. Working tree, and let me call it as local repo, and let me call it as remote repo. All right. Working tree is there, local repo is there, remote repo is there. Now, let me go back to our repository. We have our repository here. Let me open my git bash. Open my git bash. Git status. So currently there are some files are available, .class path, .project, .settings. So tell me, do we really need to configure these? Do we really need to commit these files to the remote repository? .class path, .project, .settings? No. Then how can I tell to Git to ignore these files? That's where we are using .git ignore. We are going to use .git ignore. What is the purpose of .git ignore? It is used to tell that what files we need to ignore. .class path, .settings, and a .project. I don't want to commit these files to the Git repository. .class path, .settings, and .project. I configured them in the git ignore file. Now let us verify our git status. Now those files are coming or those files are not coming now. Those files are not coming. Why those files are not coming? Earlier, when I execute the git status command, those files displayed as modified, but now those files are not coming. The reason, we have added them in the git ignore. So we discussed what is git ignore also. We discussed about what is git ignore. What is .git ignore file? .git ignore file is used to tell which files and folders we don't want to commit, which files and folders we want to exclude and we don't want to commit. Those things we are configuring in the .git ignore file. All right. Now let me do a commit for my repository with the .git ignore. Now git status .git ignore file is added. Git add -a, then git status. The files are added to staging area. You can unstage that file also. Let me go for git commit -m. Git ignore file added. Git ignore file is added. Then go for git push. I'm doing a git push, guys. So repository not found. That git repository not available. So that means, did I delete that repository? Whatever the remote repository I'm trying to push, oh, that repository I have deleted. Our repository is there. I have deleted that repository in the yesterday in the class itself. I think someone asked me how to delete the repository. Okay. So let me create that new repository and let me push my code changes. Okay. So the repository name I'm giving as Ashok IT Output app. All right. Now create a repository. So this is a brand new repository now. I need to execute these commands to push the changes to the remote repository. I will delete my .git. I will delete my .git and I will execute all the commands again. Now, if you see git status, it's not a git repository. Let us go for git init. Initialize the git repository, git status. Now, all the files it is displaying. So now it is a brand new. Let me commit all these things. Git commit, git add -a, all the files I am adding. Then git commit -m, I'm doing initial commit. Then I need to configure the default branch. Git branch -m main. Here, small m represents message for the commit. Capital M represents the main branch that is available for the project. Okay. Now branch M, configured main branch, add the repository to our working tree, then do git push for first time. So the project is pushed to GitHub repository. The project is pushed to our GitHub repository. That is fine, guys. Now go to our git bash and let us check the git status. The files are up to date. Everything is pushed to our GitHub repository. Everything is pushed to our GitHub repository. Now let us refresh our project and check this. Now the total project is pushed to GitHub repository. Now I want to tell you about git pull command and git fetch command. Now go to the Docker file. In the Docker file, we are having something like this. Now let me change the port number from 8080 to 9090. Okay, guys. Let me change the port number from 8080 to 9090. So in the remote repository, the code is available. The Docker file port number available as 8080. But if you see in my local, what is the Docker file port number? If you see in my local, what is the Docker file port number? In my local, the Docker file port number is 8080, but in the remote, the Docker file port number is 9090. If you see in the remote repository, the Docker file port number is 9090. In my local, the Docker file port number is 8080. So that means where is the latest code? Latest code is available in the remote repository. Latest code is available in the remote repository. Now, already I have project in my local. Already I have the project in my local. Only some code changes which are happened in the remote, those code changes are not available in my local. So for this, what I need to do? For this, what I need to do? Do I need to clone the entire repository, or I need to clone? I need to clone the entire repository, or I need to take only latest changes? Guys, come on. Do I need to clone the entire repository, or I need to clone only my latest changes from the remote? Only latest changes from the remote. To take the latest changes from the remote, which command we will use? Git pull command. Let us go to our git bash and execute git pull command. When you execute git pull command, you tell me what happened. You tell me what happened when I execute the git pull command. When I execute the git pull command, what happened is from the remote repository, changes came to the local repository. From the remote repository, changes came to local repository. From the local repository, changes came to the working tree also. Now go to your Docker file and verify that a Docker file. Verify that a Docker file and check it. Are we able to get the latest change? Are we able to get the latest change into our working tree? From the remote repository, the changes came to local. From the local, the changes came to working tree also. When you go for git pull command, when you go for git pull command, the changes came from the remote repository to the local repository. From the local repository to the working tree, we got the changes. So with this, are you clear with the pull command? With this, are you clear with the pull command? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Now let me go back and let me make some other change. Let me make some other change. Go to the Docker file. Now from 9090, let me make it as 8081. I am making it as 8081. I am committing my change. I have done the commit in the remote directly. Now I will go to my local. So in my local, the port number available as 9090, but in the remote, it is updated to 8081. I need to take the latest code. So what are the options I have to take the latest code? I can take the latest code by using pull command. If I take the latest code by using pull command, what will happen? Directly, the remote repository changes will come to my local. From the local, the changes will come to my working tree. From the remote, the changes will come to local, and from the local, they will come to working tree. So when you go for the pull command, there is a chance of getting the conflict because directly the changes are coming to our local to working tree. In our working tree, suppose in the same line, if I have code change, I have done some code change in the Docker file. Other developer also done the code change in the Docker file. So our both developers changes are in the same line. Then what will happen? There is a chance of getting the conflict. Okay. So here, this is the danger situation, right? I am taking latest code changes from the remote using pull command. When I do the pull command, what happened? Directly it is taking the changes from remote to local, local to working tree. In the working tree, if the same file, if the same line having changes, then conflict will occur. Then conflict will occur. Are you able to understand this? Are you able to understand this? What is the conflict? Yes. Now here, in order to take the latest changes, instead of git pull command, I will go for git fetch command. If I execute pull command, we understood. directly it will come to remote, from remote to local, local to working tree. Now I am executing git fetch command. When I execute git fetch command, you see what happened. It is able to identify that there are some new changes in the remote repository. It will bring the changes from the remote repository to only local, not to the working tree. So when I execute git fetch command, changes will come from the remote repository to local repository, but not to the working tree. Okay. So what is the advantage with this one? Our changes, whatever the new changes are there in the remote, those new changes are downloaded to local, but not to the working tree. That means git fetch command is giving the information that, boss, there are some new changes in the remote which are not there in your local. So be careful. There is a chance of getting the conflict. But is the pull command doing such operation? No. Pull command blindly downloading all the latest changes into our working tree. If a pull command downloaded all the latest changes to our working tree, there is a chance of getting the conflict. But when you go for git fetch command, directly changes are not coming to working tree. It will just notify that there are some new changes in the remote, which we need to take into our local. After executing git fetch command, let us verify our Docker file. It is having 9090 port number. Now let us go to the Docker file. Is it getting 8081? Is it getting 8081 to our working tree? No. So I have executed git fetch command. When I executed git fetch command, it is saying that there are some new changes in the remote. But is it downloading those new changes from the remote to the local? From remote to local coming. What about from the local to working tree? From the local to working tree, those changes are not coming. Those changes are not coming. Now, here, whenever I identified that there are some changes in the remote repository, I will be careful with my local changes. What are the changes I have done? Then, to get the changes from the local to the working tree, then we can use git merge command. When I execute git merge command, then only the changes are merged to my working tree. Now go to our working tree and open our working tree file. Now you can see that 8081 port number will be updated. 8081 port will be updated. So what is the meaning of that? If you go for git pull command, it is equal to git fetch plus git merge. So when you use a git pull command, directly the changes are downloaded from the remote to local to working tree. But when you go for git fetch command, directly changes will not come to the working tree. Fetch command will notify that, yes, there are some changes in the remote. You need to take them. So once you execute the fetch command, then changes will come to the local. To get the changes from the local to the working tree, you need to execute a command called git merge command. Are you guys able to understand this? Are you guys able to understand what is the difference between git pull command and git fetch command? Guys, are you able to understand what is the difference between git pull command and git fetch command? Come on. Git pull command and git fetch command. Are you guys able to understand my point? What pull command will do? What pull command will do, guys? Pull command will directly take the changes from the remote to local, local to working tree. When you execute the git pull, the commands will come to the working tree directly. But when you execute the fetch command, remote repository changes will come to up to local only. To get from the local to working tree, we need to execute again merge command. If you execute pull command, directly the changes will come to working tree. There is a chance of getting the conflict. So if you want to avoid the conflicts, if you want to do the safe code merge operation, then do git fetch first. It will download the changes to local. Once it came to local, from local to working tree by using git merge. When you execute the git fetch command, you will understand that yes, there are some changes available in the remote. So now if I execute git fetch once again, now you see I'm not getting anything. So when I execute the git fetch for first time, it has given some instruction saying that remote repository having some changes. When I execute git fetch command second time, why no output coming? When I execute git fetch command now, why there is no output? Why there is no output when I execute git fetch command? Why there is no output when I execute git fetch command? Because there are no changes to download in the remote. There are no changes available in the remote. So whenever there are some changes in the remote, then only it is going to download that. Are you guys clear with my point? Perfect. When we do the git merge, our changes will be available. Remote repository changes also will be merged. So when you go for git pull, directly changes will come to your working tree. But when you go for git fetch, changes will come to up to local, but not to the working tree. To get the changes from the local to working tree, then git merge command we are going to use. So in the interview, they may ask this question: what is the difference between git pull and git fetch? Git pull will download the changes directly from the remote to the working tree, whereas git fetch will download the changes from remote to up to local repository. To get the changes from the local repository to working tree, we need to execute git merge again. Then another interview question they will ask: what is the difference between git merge versus git rebase? What is git merge and git rebase? Now, here guys, git merge and git rebase are rarely used commands. To be frank, practically, I never used these commands to perform the branch merging. Okay. When you want to perform the branch merging, directly we have an option called pull request. Now, as we discussed, developers will be working with multiple branches in the Git repository. Developers will be working with multiple branches in the Git repository. If you want to do the branch merging directly in the remote repository, you can go for pull request. Suppose I want to do the branch merging in the local, not in the remote. Then you can go for git merge or git rebase commands. All right. Now let me do one thing. So here, go to the repository. Currently, how many branches are available? Only one branch is available, that is main branch. Only one branch is available, that is main branch. Now, here, observe carefully what we are trying to do. We are having a main branch. From this main branch, I am going to create develop branch. We are having a main branch. From this main branch, I'm going to create a develop branch. Branch creation. All right. Main branch is available and develop branch is available. Let me create. Main branch name I'm giving as develop. Create the branch. develop from the main branch. Yes, two branches are available. Next one, here, does my local knows about the branches? Does my local knows about the branches? Only main is available. Let me do git checkout to develop. Now it is saying that boss, I don't know develop branch. In the remote repository, develop branch is available, but am I able to check out to the develop branch? No. Why I am not able to check out to the develop? The reason, branch is created just now, repository available from 1 hour back. Okay, how can I get that latest branch to my local? How can I get the latest branch to my local? To get the latest branch to the local, I need to go for git pull latest changes. So, okay, whatever the new branch is created, that new branch will be updated in the local also. All right, new branch is updated in the local. Now git branch. Currently, I'm in the main branch, guys. Currently, I'm in the main branch. Can you tell me how to switch to the develop branch? I'm in the main branch now. How to switch to the develop branch? How to switch to the develop branch? Come on. Checkout command. Let me go for git checkout develop. Switch it to develop branch. Okay. Now I switch it to the develop branch. Now let me make some changes in the develop branch. Let me create some files, f1.txt. I have created a file in the develop branch. Then git add -a. Then git commit -m. F1 file added in develop branch. F1 file added in the develop branch. Okay. Whatever the file is added in the develop branch, I have committed to local repo. Develop branch, local repo. Now, I want to merge these develop branch changes to main branch. Then what I will do? I will do git checkout main. If I go to the main branch, F1 file is coming or F1 file is not coming. F1 file is not coming. Okay. Now in the main branch also, I'm going to create one more file, touch m1.txt. Now git add -a. Then git commit -m. M1 file added in main. All right. So what I have done here is I have taken one main branch. From the main branch, I have created one develop branch. All right. So from the main branch, I have created a develop. Main is available. From the main, I have created a develop. In the develop branch, I have created one file called f1.txt. After this file is created in the develop branch f1.txt, then in the main branch, I have created one file called m1.txt. You see the operation what I have done now. Okay. So first I have main branch. From the main branch, I have created a develop branch. This is my step number 1. Then I have committed F1 file in the develop branch. Then I have committed M1 file in the main branch. Now, whatever the changes I have done in the develop branch, I want to merge those changes in the main branch. Okay, branch merging. So this branch merging I am doing in the remote repository or branch merging I am doing in the local repository. To do the branch merging in the local repository, we have two options. One is called merge command. Another one is called rebase command. Are you guys clear with my point? This is my scenario. I have a main branch. Then I have created a develop branch. In the develop branch, I have created f1.txt first. Then I have created m1.txt in the main branch. f1.txt and m1.txt. f1.txt is added in the develop branch. m1.txt is added in the main branch. Now I want to merge the changes from develop branch to main branch. How to do this? Now go to our git bash. Let me merge the changes from develop to main. Currently I am in the main branch. Git merge develop. That's it. So if you want to merge the changes from one branch to another branch in the local repository, you can go for git merge command. Then you see that F1 file is came from develop branch to main branch also. Develop branch to main branch also. Now let us see the git log. Let us see the git log here. What it is saying in the git log. In the git log, all the commit history, it is specifying branch merging happened, M1 file is added, F1 file is added. Can you see it is maintaining the commit history? It is maintaining the commit history. Now recent, I have merged. Before merging, I have created M1 file in the main. I have committed M1 file in the main branch. Before that, I have committed F1 file in the main branch. Are you guys able to understand what is this merge command now? If you just execute git merge without branch name, then it will bring the changes from the local repository to the working tree. If you execute git merge command with the branch name, it will merge the branches in the local. So currently, I am in the main branch. I have executed git merge develop. So whatever the changes available in the develop branch local repository, those are merged to the main branch. That is branch merging in the local using git merge command. When I do the branch merging by using git merge command, is it preserving our commit history? Guys, is it preserving our commit history or it is not preserving our commit history? It is preserving our commit history. In which order we have done the commits? In which order we have done the commits? These commits are displaying in the same order. This order, it is preserving. Okay. Now let me try with the rebase command. Are you guys clear? Are you guys clear with what is merge operation I have done now? Are you guys clear with the merge operation I have done now? Yes, tell me what is the merge operation? Why we are using git merge command? Why we are using git merge command? If you want to merge your changes from one branch to another branch in the local, then you will go for merge command. Then what is the purpose of pull request? Pull request is used to merge the changes from one branch to another branch in the remote repository directly. Okay. All right. Now let me do the same operation using rebase. Rebase. Now let me check out develop branch. Git checkout develop. I'm in the develop branch, guys. In this develop branch, let me create one file called f2, touch f2.txt. First, I'm creating a file in the develop branch, which is f2.txt. Let me add that file. Let me commit that file. Git commit -m, f2 file added in develop. Okay, I have committed. Now let us go for git checkout main. In the main branch, I am going to add one file called m2. Touch m2.txt. Then git add -a. I have done this. Git add -a. Added that m2 file to the main branch staging area. Git commit -m. Added m2 file in main branch. So what I have done now? Same thing. Main branch is available, develop branch is available. Main branch available, develop branch available. Okay. Now, in the develop branch, I have added one file called F2. Here, I have added one file called F2 in the develop. After that, I have added one file called M2 in the main branch. F2 is available, M2 is available. F2 is pushed to develop branch, M2 is pushed to the main branch. Now, whatever the changes available in the develop, I want to merge the changes to the main branch. So earlier also we have done that by using git merge command. Now we can do that by using git rebase command. Clear? Both are used to merge the changes from one branch to another branch in the local repository. So earlier we have done the merge by using merge command. Now we are doing the merge by using rebase command. All right. Now go here. Go here. We are in the main branch only. We are in the main branch only. Let us execute git rebase develop. Successfully rebased and the updated the main. Now, what happened? I have done git rebase develop. So develop branch is rebased to the main branch. Now let us go for git log command. Now, when I go for the git log command, is it telling that I have rebased it? Is it telling that I have rebased it? No, I'm not telling that it is rebased it. Okay. M2 file in the main branch, M1 file in the main branch, F2 file in the develop branch. But actually, before M2, which file I have committed? Before M2, which file I have committed? F2 file. But it is showing M2 after M2. Is it preserving the commit history or it is not preserving the commit history? It is not preserving the commit history. Okay, guys? It is not preserving the commit history. That means whenever you go for git merge command, it will preserve the commit history in which order we have done the commits. In which order we have done the commits, it is showing that. In which order we have done the commits, it is showing that. Are you guys able to follow this? Are you guys able to follow this? Come on. Are you guys able to follow this? In which order we have done this? Whenever you do the git merge, in which order you have done the merge commits, it is displaying. But when I go for git rebase, all the main branch commits came to the top and the develop branch commits went to the down. Develop branch commits went to the down. Main branch commits came to the top, develop branch commits went to the down. But this is not the order I have committed. First I have committed a file in the develop, then I committed a file in the M2. But when I see the commit history after rebase, all main branch commits came to the top, develop branch commits went to down. So that is the difference basically. This merge command will maintain, it will preserve the commit history, whereas rebase command will not preserve the commit history. But really, we don't do all these operations in the local. We don't do all these things. I have never done git merge, git rebase in my projects. Whatever the changes we will do, directly we will integrate in the remote repository. Any branch merging is required, we will do that by using pull request concept. Just for interview point of view, you need to know what is git fetch command, what is git merge command, and what is git rebase command. As of now, whatever operations I have done only in the local, not to the remote. I have not pushed anything. Just I have committed. So my changes are there only in the local repository, not push it to the remote repository. To push to the remote repository, git push command. Then your changes will be pushed to remote repository. Are you guys able to understand this? Are you guys able to understand this? What is fetch command? What is merge command? And what is rebase command? What is fetch command? What is merge command? What is rebase command? Come on. Yes. All right. After we do git merge or git rebase, it will not go to remote. It is only in the local. Only in the local. Merge command, in which order you have done the commits, it will preserve the commit history. Git rebase command will not preserve your commit history. Okay. Rebase means develop branch rebase to the main. All the main branch changes will come, commits will display on the top. Rebase commit history will go down. Develop branch commits will go down when you go for git rebase. Okay. All right. Yes, rebase command will not provide the commit history sequence order. Merge command will provide the commit history in the sequence order. But we don't use them, guys. Just for interview point of view, we need to know what is the purpose of it. All good. So with this, we are done with our second tool, GitHub and Bitbucket version control tools. I have given one task also. I hope you guys completed this task as well. I've given one task also. I hope you guys completed this task, that practice on the GitHub. Okay. How to get updated code without merging my code? You can't do that, sir. You need to, whenever you want to get the updated code, you need to go for git pull command. In the local, if you don't have code changes, no problem. In the local, when you have code changes, you need to be careful because there is a chance of getting the conflict. You need to resolve the conflict if it occurs. I am doing the code changes. So when I am doing the code changes, somebody else also can do the code changes in the project. So if they commit and push first, then you need to take the pull before pushing. So that is the reason what is the best practice is daily before going to start your code, take the git pull first, then start your changes. Okay. So today morning, if you are starting your coding or if you are starting your work, before starting your changes, first you take the pull so that all the latest code will be available in your local, then start making your changes. And at the end of the day, before pushing your changes, you need to check any push happened in the remote. If a push happened in the remote, you need to pull, then you need to integrate your code with the latest code, then you need to push. So when you are working with the repositories, we need to be very careful. Because if you do some mistake in the repositories, it will affect others' functionality. We should not disturb others' functionality. We should not disturb others' functionality. Clear? Perfect. So touch is basically a Linux command to create the empty file. Touch command, it is not related to Git, guys. Touch is basically a command to create empty files. This is a Linux command. Touch abc.txt. abc.txt file will be created. Touch is a basic Linux command to create the empty files. In the Linux classes, you will understand. So good. So for the developer, how much knowledge is required related to the Git operations? We have covered all that stuff, guys. So with this, we are done with our second tool in the project, Git and Bitbucket. We know how to perform operations with Git repositories, how to integrate our code, how to take the latest code, how to create the branches and all that stuff. Got it? Thank you. So with this, I'm stopping for today, and tomorrow we are going to learn a new tool. Okay, good. Fine. Thank you, guys.